Morning, all. All right, so yeah, we got news of the day and the shortest preview you can imagine because I don't even know if teams are going to have their full lineups. I don't know who's going to play. I don't know what's going to happen. We're in this extended period in between the regular season seemingly coming to an end and the start of the playoffs. I can't recall where we've had this long a period in between one ending and the other starting, in that half the league is done and we've still got some stragglers we can call them. But we're going to talk about news of the day first. Kevyn Adams has come out and clarified. So there's this disconnect, right, between the Eichel and the Sabres. Eichel wants to have surgery and the Sabres are saying no. The reason that Kevyn Adams is saying that the team's doctors are saying no is because the procedure he wants done for the herniated disc in his neck has never been done on a professional hockey player before. No NHLers ever had this surgery. And they are concerned about how this is going to work and whether or not it's the right call. So the team still wants him to rehab it. They still want him to see if he can rehab through it. He is adamant that he wants to have surgery. So, in and amongst discussions about whether or not Sam Reinhart and Rasmus Ristolainen might want out as well, the Eichel thing is still there. And so, all Kevyn Adams is saying is he wants a team of players that want to be there this fall. He wants to have the right team of players. And when I read that, I thought, oh boy, that could really narrow it down. And if I'm Linus Ullmark, who's a UFA this summer, I'm looking at this and thinking, nope, I'll just sign somewhere else then. And there will be offers for Linus Ullmark. Good goaltender. If he can stay healthy, very good goaltender. So yeah, Buffalo, getting back into tire fire territory here, aren't they? Speaking of tire fires, the New York Rangers have decided to part ways with David Quinn as head coach, something which most Ranger fans will say is really, really overdue. I'm not going to say whether or not it's overdue. I don't know. I know the Rangers can be better than what they are, but I don't know that anybody was expecting playoffs from them this year. But it's okay. The interesting thing, of course, is immediately rumors come up about John Tortorella. The expectation is there will be those who want to see Mark Messier behind the bench, even though he has no experience as a head coach in the NHL, and that the Rangers have a lot of choices right now. So we'll see what they do. Maybe Rick Tocchet ends up there. I don't know. But they want somebody who can help develop the young guys, right? Somebody who can work with the young players. So it's also in the rumor mill that maybe they go with a college coach again. Maybe they go with somebody who's, U.S. college and go from there. I don't have a problem with teams going with a new coach, like somebody who hasn't coached in the NHL before. I think it's just familiarity. I think the reason that we see coaches get recycled so much is just, well, we know what we're going to get with this guy. Or we saw what he did there, and we kind of want him to do that here. And I don't necessarily see it as laziness. I think they're just playing it safe. I really think they're playing it safe. So, yeah, Quinn's out. We'll see what happens with the New York Rangers. Interesting note on Toronto and Montreal. They are going to meet in the first round now. That is confirmed. And every time that these teams have met in the Stanley Cup playoffs, the winner has won the Stanley Cup. So do with that what you will. They win the cup. Whoever wins this series, I don't know. I'm not taking either Toronto or Montreal to win the Stanley Cup this year, but it's an interesting note. And if it happens, that'd be fine with me. Whatever makes the 1993 discussion go away is absolutely fine with me. I don't want to have that discussion again this year. But of course, every year when every Canadian team is out, I do the video on, well, no hockey, no Stanley Cup for Canada this year. So we'll see, right? We'll see whether or not Toronto can do it this year. Toronto, it's definitely the best roster they've had top to bottom in decades. And so I think they've given themselves a decent chance. I understand there will always be the concerns with the goaltending. There will be concerns about the blue line, but we're here and we'll see what happens, right? Jeremy Swayman, Bruce Cassidy has basically stated, yes, Swayman will be the backup for Tuukka Rask in Boston. So Jaro Halak, his time in Boston's pretty much up. And again, it harkens back to his last start, Halak's, where he just freaked out and snapped his stick, and just when he allowed that goal. And I think that was probably part of it. A, Halak's very competitive, and B, probably realized I'm likely going to be the number 3 now. So for Boston, how short a leash does Tuukka Rask have in that first round? If they go out against Washington and they lose game 1 5-1, Swayman probably goes in game 2. And then Swayman has to have a bad game before Rask will go back in. So it'll be interesting to see what Boston does, and how far they can get with Swayman and Rask, and what kind of conversations we're having after that. John Gibson, he wants to win. So he's not 100% saying I'm seeing myself in Anaheim for the rest of my career. But he's also said, I signed a contract. I signed it to be here. I don't really want to be anywhere else. But yeah, I'd like to win. And he wants to see the team start taking steps towards the playoffs. The good news for him is they should. They should be able to take steps towards the playoffs starting with this coming season. And so Gibson, it's not a situation yet where Anaheim has anything to worry about or they have to make a trade. But right, we'll see. So tonight's games, one starting at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, which is ridiculous. Does anybody know why this game's so early? It's Edmonton and Montreal playing at 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. So I'll review that game on its own because, okay, it's weird. And then at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. And notice I'm not getting into who's playing, who's not, and what the records are and everything, because it doesn't really matter. We know who's playing who in the North now. We know who's made the playoffs, so teams can absolutely be resting, guys. At 9 o'clock Eastern, we get into the games that actually matter. We get into the West Division here. So for Vegas, it's simple. They win, they get the President's Trophy, they get the division, they have home ice throughout the playoffs. All they have to do is beat San Jose. They've been able to beat San Jose this year. Traditionally, it's been quite the feud between themselves and the Sharks. Now, if the Sharks need motivation, trying to cost Vegas first place, could be decent motivation for them. We'll see. But that's where we're at, and so we don't know the matchups yet in the West. That's the only division we don't know the matchups. Then also at 9 Eastern, the Colorado Avalanche, the LA Kings playing against each other. A win for Colorado will clinch at least second place. So if they win both their games against LA and Vegas loses tonight, then Colorado has a chance to be first overall and win the division. Obviously. Can't be, okay, you're first overall, but you're second in your division. Why? Colorado reasons. All right. So yeah, Colorado and LA, and then we have Minnesota and St. Louis also taking place at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. Now, for the Wild, it's dicey. They're likely not going to finish higher than third, but they technically could. If Colorado loses both their games against LA in regulation, Minnesota wins both of their remaining games, they could finish second. But if they lose against the Wild tonight in regulation, they will be third in the division. So it's highly likely, I would think Vegas wins tonight against San Jose. And I have to mention, too, the hat that I'm wearing here, I got years before this jersey was revealed. And when I got this hat, I even said in the video, I hope at some point we get a red jersey with this on the front. So, because on a hat it looked really nice, and on a jersey I like it. And I know other people don't, and whatever. It's fine. But yeah, so there you go. You've got 5 games tonight. It's the busiest night we have until the playoffs start. We may end up with nights during the playoffs where there's 5 games, but in all likelihood, it'll be 4 one night for the next. But again, with TV contracts being as they are, we may end up with 6 on one day. So we'll see how that goes, but I still intend to have a board for each game in each playoff series and having a playlist for each series as well. So we'll see how that goes this year. It went well last year, so I've got my fingers crossed it's going to go well this year too. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Who's going to stay in Buffalo? Who's going to go? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.